Hi, I'm Lawrence Bernstein, a professional speechwriter, and I run greatspeechwriting.co.uk. And irrespective of the sort of speech that you're going to give, there are 2 or 3 key things to bear in mind. Firstly, there is nothing to beat preparation, and hopefully you're not watching this 24 hours before you're due to give your speech, but the more time you leave yourself, the better. Second of all, don't worry about speaking for too long. Often a 5-minute speech is much more powerful and impactful than a 20-minute one, and brevity is often the key. And finally, although a lot of the videos that I've created are about writing a speech, please remember that you can't think about writing and delivering separately. They're one and the same thing. You're writing to make the speech easy to deliver, and if you think of it that way, then the thing should work. So you're thinking about putting pen to paper and writing a wedding speech. This obviously covers a huge number of potential roles. You could be a father of the bride about to burst into tears at the wonderful life that your daughter has led so far and your pride in her, right the way through to a bridesmaid who just might want to stand up for 30 seconds and say something that's a little bit cheeky and funny about your best friend. But there are certain rules that I think are worth bearing in mind wherever you sit across that spectrum. For a start, think about the things you have to say, the must-haves, and on the other hand, think about the things that you might want to say, the things that could turn the speech into something that little bit funny or that little bit memorable. Now, the must-haves will tend to include a number of thank yous, probably more if you're a groom or a father of the bride than if you're a bridesmaid or a best man. And most speeches will end with a toast. Now, obviously, those will tend to be clothed in a certain amount of sincerity and will be crucial in structuring what you want to write down, but won't probably be the elements that make the speech memorable or particularly enjoyable for the people who are listening to it. So to get those right, the best place to start is to work backwards. And imagine when you sit down having given your speech, what do you want people to be thinking and saying? If you'd like them to be in tears about the incredible affection that you hold for the person you've been talking about, be it the bride or groom or someone else, then obviously you'll want to keep the thing relatively sincere and keep it relatively sensible. If on the other hand you want people to be roaring with laughter and telling you it's the funniest thing they've ever heard, then you need to work that into the whole way that you approach, structure and write and the sort of language that you use. This balance of sincerity and humour is absolutely key to writing any wedding speech. Generally, I would recommend that no one ever goes to 100% on either. No one wants to see a groom in tears because he's so over-emotional. At the same time, no one wants to see a best man who just tells a load of cut and paste and raucous jokes for sort of minutes on end. And so therefore, try and make this speech, while you're putting it on paper, as relevant as possible. And it's got to be relevant to 3 different people or groups of people in that room. There's yourself, because you've got to give something you would be comfortable to say if you were just talking to somebody one-on-one. There's the subject of your speech, the groom, the bride, whoever else it might be, and it's got to be something they would enjoy and be happy to be said about them. And then there's everyone else in that room. And don't forget that if you leave them out, then actually what you've got is something that 2 people find funny and is actually going to be alienating for a lot of the room rather than enjoyable. So try not to use your speech as a forum for running through the subject's CV. Don't tell everybody everything they ever wanted to possibly hear about them. But do look on building a structure around which you can write your various anecdotes. Now that structure doesn't have to be chronological. It could be a theme, it could be something that has played a particularly enjoyable role in their life, a sport they love, a cartoon character they loved, a book they read often. And it could be used as a cement to pull the bricks of that speech together and something to use as a constant reference point. And so, for example, a groom who spent the earlier part of his years running around dressed as Superman might give you the opportunity to write a speech comparing his Clark Kent side to his Superman side, which again could just give you that opportunity to pull things together in a way that would otherwise be floating loosely within the speech. Once you've got that sort of structure and you want to start putting pen to paper and writing the thing, then keep your sentences incredibly short. Keep the thing very punchy, because writing to deliver something out loud to a group at a wedding is very different to writing it to be read off the page quietly in book or newspaper format. Make sure that there are no wasted words, that you don't throw hundreds of adjectives together when in fact you want to get to the point much more quickly, and make it very, very easy to read out loud, and something that over time you just need to look at as a prompt to make it easier to deliver. Now, I appreciate that these are very high level tips, and obviously if you were talking specifically about one of the speeches on the wedding day, then we could take it to a much, much more finite level of advice. But if you'd like to know more, please have a look at my website, greatspeechwriting.co.uk, and feel free to give me a call if you'd like to discuss it in person.